a broken foot while I was in camp there. Yeah, funny story about that. So
Jeez.
Sean was sending everybody home. Football's got to be a factor in my life. I
Right.
was crazy, you know.
And it's the same old story. Everybody thinks, why can't I be as good as this person? I'm
Yeah,
just not naturally gifted like that.
right.
No, the great ones, they all have that
No doubt.
extra behind them, that the
No doubt.
preparation, the training, something. I mean, how important is it for you to just look at a script, close your eyes, and go through it all?
I always tell my guys, what you put in is what you get out. And
Yeah.
that's the God honest truth.
James, welcome, brother.
Thank you for having me, bud.
Oh man, so excited for this. Really been looking forward to this one. Really appreciate you making the time for it. You got a lot going on, and I think there's a lot of people that can get some really good insight out of this conversation. And just really good talking to you, man. I know we had met at the Pro Football Combine at Nicholls State last summer, where you had brought in some a couple of your guys, and one of your guys actually he won MVP or he got quarterback of the.
Yeah, you got first place out of the quarterbacks.
Oh yeah, that was awesome, man. You were just there coaching them up, just
Yeah.
supporting him, man. And you could see the passion you had for your guys. So I don't want to dive in too deep. I want to let you handle all that. So let's just backtrack a little bit and
Mhm.
go into who is James Tabary, where you're from, how you got started, talk about the college career, talk about the Saints career and NFL experience and kind of how you got to what you're doing now.
So, my name is James Tabary. I'm from River Ridge, Louisiana, which is right outside of New Orleans. Started playing ball around 4 years old. My dad forced me to play with the 6, 7, and 8 year olds 2 years early. Um, and then that's just, I kind of fell in love with it. My dad's a Marine, so he's always been, real hardcore. And that's always been something we hold close to our heart is, just toughness, mental toughness. Whatever you play, whatever you do, wear a chip on your shoulder. So I was always that kid growing up. I think my first year playing football, broke 3 fingers. Still just wrapped it up, kept playing. I was a nose guard. And I don't think I played offense. Yeah, I was just the nose guard on defense. And probably wasn't
Love
until I was around about 10 years old, going into fifth grade, is when I finally, made the switch of wanting to be a quarterback. Went to Christian Brothers in City Park. Um, Great foundation of youth football. Got a really good understanding of, high level plays as in high school. I mean, everyone there is kind of a brainiac. I wasn't the best in school, so I was definitely one of the guys in the higher numbers of graduating class of where grade standpoint at. But we played a very high level football, and so actually I got somewhat of recruited by actually St. Aug with Coach Frank Wilson. So that was actually one of my options, and then the other one was Holy Cross, Coach Scott Simpson. What's funny is now he's the AD at Christian Brothers.
it.
Um, yeah, I was
Full
like,
circle.
yeah, no doubt. So ended up going to Holy Cross, 8th through 12th grade. Phenomenal experience, probably one of the best experiences of my life. Went through a lot of stuff though, dealt with a lot of family things back at home. So had to really step up and take a big role in life as being, a father figure, to my family of my siblings. Um, won't go too in depth with it and stuff, but definitely made me a man at a very young age.
For
And
sure.
so that's when I really started, getting into that discipline role of, like I gotta, it's now or never type of deal as in making it to college football.
Right.
So I started training at around, oh, I think maybe 10 years old and
Mhm.
sacrificed everything. 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, nonstop. Never went on a family vacation. Never went on. I went on one spring break my whole entire life. So yeah, I took a big discipline role in my life at a young age in high school, and that kind of made me who I was from then. Ended up getting a scholarship at Arkansas State, so I signed there. Was there at 2014, and then going into the 2015 year, my OC left from Arkansas State. I decided to leave as well, and then I finished at McNeese. I played there in 16, 17, and 18. Broke 21 school records. Yeah. And then from there, let's see. got a shot with the Saints in camp in 2019. Um, Ended up having a broken foot while I was in camp there. Yeah, funny story about that. So
Jeez.
Sean was sending everybody home that got hurt, because I'm a free agent. Your value is little at that with that type of business, but guys were pulling hamstrings. Hey, pack your stuff, you're cut. Pack your stuff, you're cut. And I ended up snapping my foot on a rollout, and I had no idea. I thought it was just like a bad ankle sprain.
Yeah.
So he's asking me like, "Hey, are you good?" And I was like, "Absolutely, I'm great." So played on a broken foot for a few more days until it finally just it gave out, and ended up giving it out on a weekend when we were playing golf right before preseason. And I stepped off of a handicap ramp and it just snapped. Um, yeah, so missed preseason, missed a bunch of workouts for the Falcons, missed the workout for Browns, missed a couple CFL workouts, and then also the XFL. So it was kind of I went to a downward spiral, towards the beginning of my professional career, and it ended quickly too because of that. And then COVID hit. But all in all, I'm a guy that's been through a lot, man. I feel like that I've been a journeyman. Life's been a roller coaster. It's never been given. Everything's been earned. Um, yeah, and I can gladly say throughout my whole entire career, I've left no stone unturned. Trained my ass off. Never missed an opportunity, to go to a camp. My mother was always, bringing me everywhere. I think we went to 25 camps. Like, I mean, it wasn't just like, hey, like, come to this camp. Like, I was legitimately getting recruited, but, she sacrificed everything for me to even be able to get there and to do that opportunity. So we went to 25 camps my going into my senior year. And so we formed a really, really close bond. And, I call her the blind side. She knows, cover four. She can tell you cover two. Like she is
Jeez.
all in, man. But other than that, I started. I kind of got away from football a little bit. Some obviously, the injury, COVID hit. Um, then I had a chance to go and scout for the Chargers. That fell through as well. And then I kind of, I was like, God, what are you telling me? And so I stepped away for a little bit, got into med sales, and I hated my life. I was like, football's got to be a factor in my life. I
Right.
was going crazy, and but I had to step away to even, to see if that was even possible, and
Right.
it wasn't. And so from there, my father offered me a construction job to help run the family business. So I've been doing that and coaching at Holy Cross for the last 3 years, part time, and then opened up my own quarterback academy, Jet Quarterback Academy, last year in January. And we got over about 50, 60 guys, 7 guys in college already. Yeah, it's been a blessing, man.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been
Amazing.
incredible.
I don't even know where to start to unpack this. I mean, like,
Yeah, it's a lot, man. It is.
I mean, this is amazing. I guess I guess the first thing that comes to mind is we're gonna dive into mental toughness because
Yeah,
I'm mental performance. I'm all in. But let's just backtrack on this real quick. You talked about it, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, no days off, no vacations.
yeah,
What are you telling yourself on a Tuesday that the last thing you feel like going do is get out there and go work for 3 hours when
no
you
doubt.
could just stay in, play the video games, hang out, watch TV? You deserve a day off, right? You do this every day. So, what are you
Right.
telling yourself to get out there and go?
At a young age, it took me a while to understand like why I was doing this before, like when I first got into training. Because my mother, she, I guess she, whatever potential she had saw, she's like, hey, like you're gonna start getting into something. And so my parents put me into training with Sonic Boom, Wyatt Harris, and it was very vigorous. There wasn't too many, pats on the back. Like it's old school,
Right.
and still to this day, like he's still training at 60 years old, and he's one of the baddest human beings I've ever been around. But for a while, I was forced. I was forced. It wasn't like, hey, dude, like you can. take the day off or what. Like it was now you go and train because I got the discipline side of it too. My dad loved it, like
Right.
yes sir, no sir, like fix your arms. If you're not going to fix it, all right, we'll do more. Like you're going to get run into the ground until you do this right. So it's very like militant as well. But so I was forced to go for a while, and after a while, as a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, this is like punishment. And forever and forever, they kept saying like, you're going to thank me later for pushing you to do this. And then finally in high school, it kind of like really clicked. And then I just became obsessed with it. Dude, there was times that, more like I wasn't a big runner. So on running days,
What
I was like,
quarterback is?
you know what I'm saying? I never really complained about going to training. I would complain about like, damn, I got to go run. Like this sucks. Like I don't want to go today because I have to run. But
Right.
it was never like if I got to work on my skill set and my craft, I'm all in.
You just fell in love with the
Yeah, I
process.
love it, dude. And I'm such a practice guy, always have been. And like a lot of, and I tell all my kids these days, like, if you can fall in love with practice, the games are so easy. And like challenge yourself, like I would every day, every single day, I would try to have the most perfect day. That was starting with QB center exchange, no fumbles. Then you go to routes on air, no drops. So that includes a good ball in their hands. Even if they drop it, it's still on me. I'm always take the blame guy. Put it to where they can catch it. Maybe he can't catch it a little bit high. He's got to be in his chest. So I'd always play the mental games with me to where it always made me develop a love for practice, a love for training. And then the results just kept showing itself, you know.
Yeah.
And what
I
also
love what you said there too. When you said I'm the take the blame guy, you're accountable. I mean,
right.
it's
Oh, you have
that's
to.
where the leaders are born. So not only are you holding yourself accountable, being mature beyond, probably your years, but you're developing that, you know, that sense of rapport, like that respect between your teammates. Like, yeah, I know I dropped it, but James sitting there taking the slack for it, and when you holding yourself accountable for an incompletion, I mean, that just sends waves throughout the rest of the team, and you just establish yourself as the leader. You're
Right,
not the guy complaining, go catch the ball, do all that. I
right.
mean, there's times for it too. You got to pick your
No
guys up
doubt,
and
no
set the
doubt.
tone, but at the same time, like you're stepping up. It's on you as the head guy, and you're kind of like the OC on the field,
Right,
because you're the quarterback,
no
which is
doubt.
what every OC strives to be, or has their quarterback be. And you made a good point too that when you love the process, once you start manipulating practice and drills into the high pressure, high intensity scenarios of a game, that's when you become elite, because Friday night becomes easy. I
No
mean,
doubt,
you
no doubt.
embrace the challenge, you go against great opponents, but it's still just like you can't wait for that opportunity, and
Right.
no, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's perfect. So I mean, look, you go into training, you're getting after it. It clicked in high school, everything's working for you. Um, what did you translate from that rigorous training and process mindset into games on Friday, and kind of just throughout, the bumps and bruises like we had talked about you had throughout your career?
Um, so I would train, I was pushed and trained so hard at like such an elite speed. So the privilege I had was Curtis Johnson, who used to be the receivers coach for the Saints, who was the head coach at Tulane at one point too.
Mhm.
Now he's the head coach with the Houston Roughnecks, the USFL team.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
he was the receiver coach with the Saints, and him and my trainer are best friends. So he sent Tracy Porter. I know he was a DB, but Tracy Porter, Marcus Colston, Robert Meacham, um, Curtis Lofton. He was the linebacker. Like I got to be around all these guys, but all the time. Like they would be there. They'd go to Saints practice. They'd come in and train. I would
Wow.
train with them. It was me and then my trainer's son, Hunter Dale. Um, I would get so familiar of how fast and reactive their speed was to where like the Friday nights that they were so easy for me, as in being
Wow.
able to see things and understand things at a very, very high level of speed. So that's a huge advantage that most people like you can't buy that, like that
Yeah.
was just an opportunity at that time. I'm going into high school, all these guys I'm being able to train around on a daily basis, throw into them. I'm seeing them break on my balls, like all these things, like not many people get to be able to experience that. So that was a blessing of its own.
Yeah.
But but yeah, like, and then obviously the biggest part was, your mental. What are you seeing pre-snap? What are you already eliminating? And then what are you processing as the play goes on? So like I was really, really big on film all the time. Like I wasn't a guy that just watched practice just to watch practice. Like I was taught like how to watch film. And then I really got really good in college when I met Coach Walt Bell, who's my OC at Arkansas State, and he's a wizard. He's at Western Michigan right now, but
Mhm.
once he would break it down to even more of an in-depth level. And so that was really, dude, that was the biggest thing for me. Besides my training was like just the film room, man, just constantly seeing it, being a vision guy. I could you should be able to walk onto a field with no one there and envision 21 guys in front of you and
Yeah.
what's going on, and if you could picture things like that, then the game just becomes simple. It's like I've seen this so many times, and a lot of young athletes don't understand when pro athletes say like I envisioned it before it happened. Like no, they like legitimately saw the concept, they saw the coverage, they saw the window close, and they moved on. Like that's envisioning, like truly seeing it. And so I was always big on after practices. I'd grab my OC script of the plays. First I would never leave practice until I had every ball caught. So in my head, I'd chart, okay, he dropped a hitch, he dropped a curl, like whatever. And then the plays I also messed up. I would make sure those were all caught. I would make sure all those extra plays that were messed up were reran, whether that was just with me or guys that could stay after. And then I would take a picture of the script, and then I'd stay after practice and run through the whole thing in my head. Just jog down the field, progression, boom, run play, and then yeah. And so like that was part of my conditioning too. So like I would take after practice probably an extra hour and a half if I couldn't make it to training for some reason that day. So like I always held myself accountable, on the back end of training. So yeah, man. I know it sounds like some Tom Marinovich shit, like a psychopath about, but dude, like I wasn't a good athlete. So I knew like what the hell I had to do to get an upper hand on some guys.
Yeah.
And you gotta do what the fuck you gotta do, man.
I mean, it just amazes me. You say 21 school records at McNeese, and how many people are going to sit there and want to think, just sit there and want to think, oh yeah, he's got it made. He was just born with that. He just showed up, and he's just a gunslinger. But I mean, this is hours and hours and hours and hours of extra unrequired work that you're putting in
Right,
just to be able to compete at a high level. And this is not like, and it's the same old story. Everybody thinks, why can't I be as good as this person? I'm
yeah,
just not naturally gifted like that.
right,
No, the great ones, they all have that
no doubt,
extra oomph behind them, that the
no doubt,
preparation, the training, something. So you don't just show up and break 21 school records at a Division
right,
One school. You set the tone from early on and got
no
it done.
doubt,
Absolutely
absolutely,
amazing. And I talk about that too, because you kind of dove into visualization and just being able to visualize those other 21 guys. But I mean, how important is it for you to just look at a script, close your eyes, and go through it all? I mean, I think who was it? Baker Mayfield, when he was walking on, when he transitioned from Tech to OU, he was a walk on, and that was before transfer portal and
right,
transfer rules, right? So he's going in on Friday nights as a red shirt onto the field, going through the script by himself, walking up and down the field, getting it done. And nobody else does that. Everybody just watches a couple clips of film, wonders why they're not getting the job done, why they're not getting more offers. But this is like next level preparation and work ethic. So I mean, people don't know what it takes. So I'm
no
glad we're
doubt,
having this
man.
discussion, because people
Yeah,
have to understand, like, what does it mean to work hard? It
right,
doesn't mean grind from at practice. Like, you better be perfect every single day.
No
and
doubt.
don't be satisfied until you are. And things
Standards,
happen.
man. You gotta hold yourself. Yeah, accountability and holding yourself to a standard every day. Um, and I've always been a big culture guy because I mean you can only you can be as good as you want, but your peers around you is what is going to raise your level of intensity through the roof.
Yeah.
So if you don't have culture or standards for yourself, then you best believe you're not going to get the results that in order for you to be able to make a play happen, you're blocking, you're catching, people run, opening up the run game. So like you can be all this talent in the world, like yeah, but eventually you get what I'm saying. It's gonna catch up to you to where you haven't been holding yourself to a standard. The people around you aren't being held to a standard. So I mean, then you're dealing with a fallen program. But I've always been a big culture guy of so like I said, we talked about earlier, self blame. Um, it could be a horrible snap and the ball fumbles on the ground. Hey, center, don't even worry about this on me. I got to get under you a little bit more, put more pressure, and then you just take that ease off of people too, and then you
Yes.
build their confidence. Um, but yeah, man, you got to hold yourself to a very high standard. And then it's getting harder too. You got the transfer portal, you got all this stuff, and you got all this NIL stuff going on. And, it's a blessing at times,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's more of a curse than anything for these kids because now I can go grab a senior quarterback every single year. That's had, you know, games on his back and stuff like that. And I keep telling these kids, like, dude, this ain't easy. It's never been easy, but now it's like it's very, very, very hard.
Right.
And you better be a dude. So
Yeah. You
and
better have a foundation
yeah,
as you get to it because somebody's coming for your job every year.
no
I
doubt.
mean, it's business.
Yep.
It really is business. You know better than anybody that this is
And at a
business.
young
And
age, it's a business now. Like you're getting paid in high school, like they're gonna treat you like a true employee, brother. Like typically, I didn't realize how much of a true business it was until that elite level of the NFL. But when it comes to high school now getting paid, like, oh no, like you're a client. You want to sign an NIL deal? All right, well, you better have an agent. Guess what your agent is getting paid? 20%. So like there's all these entities now that like y'all better get it together, and I see that this generation, they're weak minded. They don't like to work. So I just keep, stress as much as possible and try to get it across to everybody. Like this is not easy. It's
yeah,
not. Though 1% go to college. Well, what is it? Like 5%, maybe 3% go to be able to play college football. And then you're talking about the quarterback position itself. Every college is only taking one.
right,
So your percentage of that's even less. And then you got to think about the next level after that. Then you only have 92 in the entire world that are on a roster.
right.
So it's 96, excuse me. But yeah, man, it's work, hold yourself at a high level. Accountability and show up on the days that you tell yourself, like, oh God, I don't want to do this. That's the best day to go and do it. But yeah, man, culture, accountability, standards.
Yeah.
That's it's
I love the saying, the standard dictates your behavior, not your feelings.
no
Because when
doubt.
you think about that, like, of course you don't feel like getting up at 4:30 to go work out. Of course you don't feel like staying an hour and a half after practice going through the script. But you're living to a standard. You've decided that this is the person you want to be and this is who you're called to be. So there's no questions. There's no questions asked. All right, so I don't want to keep you forever, man, but we got to
No.
dive into the Jet Quarterback
Yeah, let's
Academy.
do it, buddy.
All right, so I got a client. His name is Benjamin Chasson. He is 1 year old. He's about 2'2",
Beautiful.
but he's solid. I'm talking solid. So let's walk through the process
Mhm.
of working with Jet Quarterback Academy. What are we starting with? What are we hammering down foundational first? When do we get into fundamentals? And when can we start throwing fade balls? We want to start throwing the deep ball, man. I don't care about this slant stuff. We want to just chunk it. Like take us
So
take us through it. Take us through the life of a new client for James
no
Tabary.
doubt. So what I'll do is, if it's typically a younger guy, I'll just get him, one on one. and kind of do an evaluation process. Where is he at? With his feet. Obviously, throwing mechanics. My biggest thing is like I'm not gonna. I don't like changing people's throwing motion. Um, my biggest thing is how can you throw with the best ability possible, with full strength, full energy, with pure accuracy. And so a lot of guys are come they play baseball as well, so everybody's a big push guy. That's what's been taught forever,
Yeah.
and everything now is very rotational. It's almost like swinging a baseball bat but standing straight up. So that's the first thing is I look for is to see, how are you using your body to throw? Are you a push guy? Are you a rotational guy? And then I work it, from the ground up, and then it comes with balance. Where's your weight? Are you pushing through too fast before your ball's getting through? So then you're all the ways over to the top of your front foot. So I'll dive into that a bunch too, just with simplicity drills. But yeah, when it comes to the throwing stuff, it'll just be minute stuff, because I talk about the body a lot, being, and a major of kinesiology, studying Tom House, Jeff Christensen, which is Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes' throwing coach. So obviously with a bunch of research, trial and error through myself as well through my playing career is like, what small things can I do to be able to help you generate more speed, more velocity, and then obviously with the accuracy. So if you're pulling high and your shoulders like you're already contrasting your shoulder, so I'm like, hey man, just relax, let everything just be a flow. It's almost like an art. Playing quarterback is an art. You have guys that are very rigidy, you have guys that are very flow. um, so we talk about mechanics, but my biggest thing is balance and the mental side of everything. Because if you're mind muscle connected and you know exactly what your body's supposed to do every time, and then you can also understand your misses based off of your body, it's game over. Because then you're going to be able to make the in-game adjustments of, dude, I could feel my ball's going left, and then as soon as I look at myself right now, holy crap, everything's pulled way off to the target to the left. So it's like that. And then now kids have huddles, so then they can visualize it as well, besides feeling it.
Yeah.
So it's a cheat code. But that's the biggest thing is you're preventing a snowball effect. And us as quarterbacks, we already have a bunch of crap going in our head. And if we start having a bad game based off of mechanics, now most college guys and pro guys aren't having these issues at all in a game. It's just more of like young guys and guys that are in the beginning of the high school stage. But if you can understand what your body's supposed to feel like, and when you throw a ball and you can instantly feel like, oh crap, that doesn't feel right, I already know what I did, then you're just constantly staying on top of the game of the negative stuff that's going to happen down the road. So and everything's mental. So if you're not mentally strong and you can't figure it out, then you're just losing yourself, and it's getting harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
Besides that, with my older guys, it's a crap ton of mental. It's so mental.
Yeah.
We do a crap ton of board work. Obviously, still work on their balance, all their throwing stuff. That's always in the picture. But board work, and then we talk about how can they be the best themselves. Leadership. What are you supposed to be talking your receivers through when you see this? Because everybody's got to be on the same page.
Right.
Defense is simple because you can have a busted coverage and it still works out just fine.
Yeah.
Offense, you have a busted block, we're
It's over.
screwed. We need all 11 to be able to work on the same page. So I get that to them across, like what should you be thinking when you see this? What should they be doing? And then obviously their leadership skills, how are you talking outside of the field? How are you talking on the field? How are you winning guys over? How are you able to convince that guy that they'll sacrifice themselves for you? Thank you, buddy. Um, but like I said, it's all mental. And then what I'm actually about to start doing is I'm actually about to start canceling one night a week to be able to do board work. We're gonna have in my office. I just bought a 70-inch TV. We got a 12-foot whiteboard, and
Hmm.
we're just gonna break down, watch film. What should they be looking for? Progression, because then you're talking about your drops too in progression. Because if I got a quick game throw, but the backside is a 3-step throw, I might have to go to quick game back to reset and then find it. So
Right.
it's getting them to also be able to understand, what's going to work best tempo wise in my feet. Where should my balance be? Where should my eyes be? And then the whole 9 yards of being able to dissect the defense and go through a progression. Um, but yeah, man, that's the biggest thing. So the young bucks, it's more of like, true mechanical foundational
Right.
stuff. And then my older guys, it's, let's see where you're at. If you do need work, I'll definitely, help out on what we need to actually fix. And then we can dive into the crazier stuff later. But I get a lot of guys that have, great athleticism already with a good background, at least just, from recently the past year. And this has only been a year. Um, but yeah, man, and then I try to use my own experience of, the trials and errors that I've gone through and what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and give these guys all I got information wise. I'm a big giving back guy, and as much as I can give, I will. So
Yeah.
that's the Jet Academy, man.
Man, that is so awesome. And it's so needed. I mean, we're at a day and age where it's like you show up and you get praised, and like you
Yeah,
said, that's not your roots where we show up and get praised and you get pumped up and, but, it's then all of a sudden at some point it catches up to you because you hit that block where, like you said, you inevitably will fail at some point and you better have a foundation to correct it.
no doubt.
And if you don't have the fundamentals and everything laid down like you're supposed to, and the corrective measures, then you're done. I mean, how many
Right.
guys have we seen over the years that started off as quarterback here, there, had all the potential in the world, and then poof, they disappeared off the face of the earth. But you got to have the foundation. So I know James. We'll end on this one. I know you ended. I mean, I'm sorry. You started. 10 years old, you're getting after it, and then you saw the results in high school. But
Mhm.
what is the pivotal point for a high school quarterback to really make that decision and say, I want the next level? I don't, and not just saying, I want the flair of just signing with a team to say I signed with a team. I want to go compete at the next level and get the job done and play on Saturdays and lead my team to victory on Saturday afternoons. What's the age where you think that just has to be decided? And once you decide at that point, there's no turning back.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say eighth grade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say eighth grade
Yeah.
because by then, like you are who you are at that point.
Yeah.
You know, you're either a pit bull or you're a poodle. So, I mean, I'm the God honest truth. This is there's a reason why this is the hardest position of all any sport
Correct.
because, dude, it's not throwing a football. It's not.
No.
It's so much more. And then it's how much can you handle? It's almost it's kind of like the Navy SEAL of sports in a way.
I agree.
The mental you go through, the physicality you go through. So I would say eighth grade. Like you either turning it up and you're keeping the volume all the way up, or it ain't for you, And I'm always brutally honest with my guys too.
Right. You
Like
have
look,
to.
dude, like I don't think this is gonna work for you. I really don't. And I'm gonna hurt your feelings now because if I lie to you and say you got this, and I know in the back of my head you don't because you don't want it as bad as I want it for you, you're gonna be heartbroken in 4 years when
Right.
you're not getting truly what you set out to go for.
Right.
But it's not on talent. It's not talent at all. Dude,
Yeah.
look at Tom Brady. Look at Drew Brees. Like these guys, they have OCD. I'm a type A personality guy. Like everything every day has got to be worked on.
Yeah.
You don't need a football to get better. That's what I always tell my guys too.
Mm.
You don't like, oh, coach, like I didn't have anybody to catch for me. I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't work on your drops. You couldn't work on your balance. You couldn't just go through your motion just in your head, just constantly going through concepts. Like you're gonna tell me you didn't have someone to catch, so you couldn't get better today. And
It's
that
that little
drives
voice inside your head that says, "Oh, I don't have anybody, so
right.
maybe you don't have to go to the field by yourself. and then it just gets so easy to listen to it because that's what we're
Yep.
programmed to do, right?
No
So
doubt.
then it's like, wait, no, I need to get out there. I can do something out there.
No doubt.
And that's what people don't understand.
Yep. And it literally, I had like, I was a psychopath about it, 2.5, 3 hours a day, but it literally takes like 20, 30 minutes. 20, 30 minutes. And just like, if you could just look in your mirror every day you brush your teeth to go to bed and say, oh yeah, I got better. I worked on something today to better myself. And it will progress and progress and progress and turn into a monster. It really will. And I always tell my guys, what you put in is what you get out. And
Yeah.
that's the God honest truth. And you can't control height, you can't control weight, but you can damn sure control mindset and work ethic 1000%.
Yeah. And I'm with you on the 30-minute part because, after 4 weeks every day, the 30 minutes, you find yourself getting more and more comfortable. So all you do, you have to put in more pressure, more high pressure situations, or more, just add to that 30 minutes to where it just becomes a progressive overload. It's not like you have to do the same thing for a year straight. Like, get out there and go. And then just that way you decide what needs to be done. And, I say this all the time too, as coaches, we got to lead by example. We got to show our quarterbacks, as OCs, quarterback coaches, like, we're dialed in, ready to go for you. We're not saying, hey, you better go throw and do this. Like, no, look, this is where you're at. I'm going to evaluate you every single day. I'm going to watch you throw in motion, because the ones who are mature enough and want this, they take the feedback and run with it. They beg for the feedback, really. They're like, coach me. Like, tell me what's wrong. Like, what else do I need to do? Like, I need to know. And you better be ready to give it to them at the same time. So part of that's on us as coaches as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So James, I'm gonna get you out of here, man. I cannot thank you enough. This has been awesome, just from a whole standpoint of resilience, mindset, quarterback play, and hopefully this is the first of many, because I really like where this is going. I feel like we could have talked. I think this could have been part one of 50, the way I want to pick your brain and dissect it. So
I'm all for it, brother.
Really appreciate it, man. And best of luck to you. I'll put everything people need to know about you in the comments. Definitely follow you on Instagram at Jet Quarterback Academy or Jet QB Academy. See what he's got going on over there in New Orleans. And man, can't thank you enough.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate you, brother.
I do. Talk soon.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.